Welcome back to Thursday's Read. Today we're going to continue reading Mrs. Dole's Out of Control. Chapter 8, blah, 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 blah. Wow, a president of the United States is going to talk to us. Double wow! Everybody clapped. A guy with white hair came out of the gym and went over to the microphone. I whispered to Ryan, "How did your mom get President Clinton to come to our graduation?" "I guess she went to run a president," he said. Everybody finished clapping, and President Clinton started speaking. I didn't catch every word he said, but it went something like this. Blah, 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 blah. This is so boring. Blah, 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 blah. Is he almost done? Blah, 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 blah. He can't go on much longer. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. I think he's almost finished. Blah, 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 blah. I think I'm gonna die. Blah, 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 blah. Man, this guy sure can talk. President Clinton went on for about 1,100,000 hours. Everybody clapped really loud at the end because we were so glad he was finished. I figured we were going to get our diplomas and eat cake next, but we didn't. Mrs. Dole got back up on stage and stood next to President Clinton. "And now, ladies and gentlemen," she said, "I would like to introduce another special guest. Please direct your attention over your heads." We all looked up, but we didn't see anything at first. But then we saw it. There was a helicopter hovering up there. It was coming down over us. I held onto my cap so it wouldn't blow away. The helicopter landed at another end of the playground. It was cool. Nothing happened for a few minutes. There was this weird purple smoke started pouring out from under the stage. The sound of drums pounded out from the speaker. Laser beams shot all over the place. Suddenly, two guys jumped out of the helicopter, ran up on stage, and started dancing around. They were wearing football jerseys and baseball caps. Then another guy hopped out of the helicopter and ran up on stage. He had on a baseball cap too, and he was wearing this big purple cape with sequins all over it. It was Mr. Heim, our old music teacher. Chapter 9, Mrs. Dole Goes Overboard. Mr. Hyde is the coolest guy in the history of the world. He used to be a plain old music teacher, but then he went on that TV show, American Idol, and now he's a famous rapper. Mr. Hyde homeschool's homeboys start yelling into the microphone. And now appearing live and in person at elementary school is the one, the only, Jam Master Hyde, the one-man funky groove machine. Get it up, y'all. Mr. Hyde is in the house. The drums got louder. The lights got brighter. "Yo, what's up, homies?" Mr. Hyde shouted. "Put your hands together. I'm here to rock your world. So get on your feet. The only way to get down is to get up." We all stood up and started clapping. Mr. Hyde danced around. Then he threw off his purple cape and started rapping. "Now my name is Hyde, and I'm here to remind. Summer is here, and it's time to unwind. Word on the street, it's your graduation, so I dropped in for some congratulation. You're getting so big moving up to 3rd grade, but you think you got it all made. But let me give you a little advice. You better not be naughty, you better be nice. You better brush your teeth, and here's the real deal. You better wash your hands before you eat a meal. You better clean your rooms, and you better be kind. Don't stare at the sun unless you want to be blind. Better mind your manners and stay out of danger. Don't tease your brother or take candy from a stranger. Early to bed and early to rise. Don't touch the paint until it dries. Sticks and stones may break my bones. But not like killer robot clones. Now here's what I'm really trying to rap while you sit there in your gown and cap. Some days you'll feel sad. Some days you'll feel happy. Some nights you'll feel mad. Some nights you'll feel crappy. But I ain't jivin', and I ain't jesting. That's just what makes life interesting. Anyway, that's what I gotta say on this your graduation day. You kids are cool. You're in the groove, and now it's time to bust a move. Everybody was going crazy. One of the guys in the marching band gave President Clinton a saxophone, and he started playing it. Mr. Hyde danced around and drummed. Mr. Klutz headed like it was a bongo. Mr. Hyde was out of his mind. Finally, Mr. Hyde and President Clinton climbed into the helicopter and flew away. That had to be the end of it. We were sure to get our diplomas and cake by now. But no! Mr. Dole raised her arm, and 1,100,000 white doves went flying up in the air. It was amazing. I was so glad I had a square on my head just in case if one of those doves pooped. Mr. Dole is out of control. Mrs. Dole is out of control. Where did all those doves come from? I asked Ryan. Rent a dove, he said. After the doves were gone, Mrs. Dole raised her arm again, and a rocket went flying up in the air over the school. It exploded in 100,000,000 directions. And the next thing we knew, the sky was filled with fireworks. It was so cool. Where did your mom get the rent of fireworks? Ryan said. At the end of the fireworks show, we heard this huge roar in the sky. I thought it was a hurricane or something. But then 6 jet planes zoomed right over our school in formation. It was awesome. I had to hold onto my cap so it wouldn't fly off my head. Where did your mom rent a Blue Angels fly over? Said Ryan. See, I told you my mom goes overboard. I didn't know what he was talking about. His mom didn't fall out of a boat or anything. But it didn't matter, because after the jet planes flew away, Mr. Klutz got up on stage to make a speech. Second graders, he said, life is about changes. Earlier in the school year, I challenged you to read 1,000,000 pages, and you did it. So I had to dress you up in a gorilla suit. Next, I challenged you to do 1,000,000 math problems. You did it. So I had to kiss a pig. Then I challenged you to write 1,000,000 spelling words, and you did it. So I had to pogo stick down Main Street in a turkey costume. Finally, I challenged you to get the highest reading score in the country. You did it. So I had to paint my head orange. You always met my challenges. Now I have one last challenge for you. What is it? Somebody yelled. If you kids line up in an orderly fashion and come on stage for your diplomas, Mr. Klutz said, I will let you throw your caps up in the air. All right, throwing stuff is fun. That's the first rule of being a kid. At school, grown-ups are constantly telling us we're not allowed to throw stuff. It was time for big moments. Finally, we were going to get our diplomas, throw our caps in the air, and eat cake. We were lined up next to the stage. Mr. Klutz read out our names one by one. Mrs. Dole handed each of us a diploma. The parents were tripping all over each other to take pictures. Congratulations, Mrs. Dole hollered. After she handed out the last diploma, you are now officially third graders. Yippee! I've been waiting for this all year. I've been waiting all year for this moment. Finally! I was allowed to throw something at school. I took the cap off my head and wind it as high and as far as I could. And you'll never believe, in 1,000,000 years, what happens next.